Living a making. Making a living matters, but living a making matters more. And loving the making, the creating of the life you're living, of who you're becoming, and how it's evolving, how you're emerging, engaging, and enlightening. Every moment you wake up and enter the day, every night you sleep and enter your dreams. Welcome to the latest Floating Poetry broadcast, and thank you for leaning in, from near or far, early or later in your day or evening, by yourself or with others. So glad to have you here, and here for show 167, coming to you from the time and weather-shaped coast of Rhode Island. This is your poet and poetorialist Colin Goedecke, a voice for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically. Last week's show was about being open to every wonder, opening yourself, or even more so, to every wonder you encounter, especially all those around you as you go through your days, witnessing and being touched by the extraordinary in the ordinary, the compelling in the seeming commonplace, and yes, also beholding the larger or greater wonders the earth holds out in its generous hands, from mountain ranges and mighty rivers to great plains and old-growth forests. This week, what are you making? Musing together on many ways we're each makers of all kinds, and on what kind of making we're doing, especially what kind of meaningful life you are making for yourself. What sense are you making of the one you have? What kind of space you're creating to rest and reflect in? What kind of life choices, vows, commitments, relationships, the contributions you are making or can to your communities, to society, to humanity? What kind of shaping of young lives are you doing, helping, as a parent or mentor or teacher? Are you making the most of your days, each day, your present time? And what about the future? What kind of future are you building as we speak? So, I've curated a broadcast of cultural commentary, poetry, inquiry, and shared discovery for us to touch on these dimensions. I do feel it's always good to take a step back now and then and see where you've been, where you are now, and where you want to go from here. So let's come into all the sharings with this. What declaration are you making today? To be free, today and all days, to live your life freely, in body, mind, spirit, to be treated equally, and treat equally your fellow men and women who desire the same, and treat kindly all living things sharing this earth, to treasure the gift of life itself you have, and your natural right to seek and make a good life, a joyful and bountiful life, safe from harm, to support all that's constructive in your family, in your community, in our society, and call out, oppose, and put an end to all that's destructive, derisive, exploitive around or above you. To think more clearly, to act more wisely, to create more harmony. What declaration can you make, will you make, are you making for your well-being and the well-being of the people, land, skies, and waters of your country, of our world, on this day. The Holstee Manifesto, Holstee, making the life you want to live. Here it is. This is your life. Do what you love and do it often. If you don't like something, change it. If you don't like your job, quit. If you don't have enough time, stop watching TV. If you are looking for the love of your life, stop. They will be waiting for you when you start doing things you love. Stop overanalyzing. Life is simple. All emotions are beautiful. When you eat, appreciate every last bite. Open your mind, arms, and heart to new things and people. We are united in our differences. Ask the next person you see what their passion is and share your inspiring dream with them. Travel often. Getting lost will help you find yourself. Some opportunities only come once. Seize them. Life is about the people you meet and the things you create with them. So go out and start creating. Life is short. Live your dream and share your passion. The Holstee Manifesto. Thank you. I didn't know about that before. So I'm rippling it out there to you and all now and beyond. What about appreciating and honoring? And are you doing that for what you were given at birth, like your faculties, your senses, your bodies, your legs, your eyes, your feet, your hands, without which much less would be easily makeable or doable. Here's a poem of mine, The Hands, that pulled you from the womb into the world, that made your childhood meals, that you raised in class, that you held, that you shook, placed on a shoulder, that you used to swim, climb, dance, write your name, open doors and letters, make your bed, button your shirt or blouse, the hands you touch to the face of a loved one, and they to yours, or to a flower, or into flowing ocean water, that you clap with joy, that you wave to say hello and say goodbye. What happens when you change your focus? Make a point of looking at the world, your life, from another angle. How about this? Not making ends meet. Only beginnings. The ones that happen daily. The beginning of a new friendship, romance, story, journey. The first blush of a fresh face, seascape. The first rays of sunlight or moonlight. The insights purling inside a silent meditation or deep conversation. The spring flowering of your heart, hopes, dreams. Anywhere, everywhere, a wealth of experience, feeling, imagining is to be found. Not impoverishing the spirit by dwelling on where the next dollar is coming from, instead meeting with great intent each point of enrichment, each opportunity for inspiration, inviting, allowing everything you need to live, to fully arrive, and wonderfully unfold. I came across in The Art of Manliness a podcast from their Sunday Fireside series, which is quite good. And this one is, we need as much meaning extension as life extension. How do you like that for a header? In there they say, millions long for immortality who don't know what to do with themselves on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Growing up, no one tells you that one of the greatest challenges of existence is figuring out how to sustain a sense of meaning over multiple decades of life. How do we mine new satisfactions from them year after year? What do we do when a marriage feels stale? Planning your dozenth trip doesn't offer the same thrill, and listening to yet another sermon on the same topic puts your soul to sleep. What good is it to add a 10th decade to life if one's 4th already feels worn out? You need to put an equal amount of energy into figuring out how to add life to your years. The post-Sunday firesides, We Need as Much Meaning Extension as Life Extension, appeared first on The Art of Manliness. So if you'd like to hear the whole thing, you can go there. That was just the overview. So that led me to a poem that I had composed apropos back in March of 2021 over in Watch Hill here in Rhode Island. It's on the meaning of life. Whoever you are, wherever and however you are, there are veins, great veins, mother loads of meaning to be found, to be mined inside and around you, to make your life all the richer, all the finer, all the more treasured and immeasurable. So become a good seeker, miner of real meaning, a panner and separator of the truly meaningful from the dross, the immaterial. And once found, be a good embracer, deepener, and appreciator of it. You'll know you've struck gold when you feel it in your bones, when you feel it in your heart, when it passes the acid test of what your whole being so naturally knows, serves, and nourishes the fleeting days, the irreplaceable years and moments you're awake and alive. Wherever you are. So, whoever's out there listening, mine well. Yes, your life. Every life has a shape. I have a wonderful friend in New York who speaks about that and about not just the shape of a life, but shaping a life. And it's always shapeable, further shapeable from whatever shape it's in now, from within and without. So let's ponder that, just that concept, if you haven't already. This is the shape of your life. You shape it as much as you humanly can. Then it in turn shapes you as much as it so wisely and serendipitously does, hasn't finished doing. Carves, fires, etches, and models you. Sometimes throws you as much as you need to bring your gifts to light to self and the world. The ones like fingerprints that belong to you alone. The ones that touch senses, minds, spirits, sparks them, even changes or greatly rearranges them. Rare gifts many would miss, and you, the animate, deeply resonant being around them, if they and you were gone, or never chanced to appear. Are you making a home somewhere? A new home? A next home? Well, if so, I have a blessing for that, for you, on the making of your oasis. May the oasis you create here be a place of strong beamed heart you're glad and grateful to live in, breathe and behold yourself in, be gracefully embraced by. Be a home you feel truly and deeply at home in. May you make it each day, all seasons, a home of clear spirit, so spirit can clearly enter. A home of good health, so well-being will dwell there. May you fill it with pure joy, so joy nests with bright-colored feathers, jubilant song in every room, on every sill, under every eave. May you, as the oasis maker and householder, as its tender and inhabiter, love and bring your love to all the times and dreams you enter here. Appreciate the comfort and solace your body and soul find and feel here. Savor the memories and harmonies, great and small, you create here that will resonate inside its walls. And may you never cease celebrating the precious, gracious life you get to have and share with other hearts and spirits in this home, your house of being, your oasis of becoming, a whole-souled place of belonging. So, a blessing on anyone going to a new house or building a house, but I would say also a blessing on bring to even the house you may have been in for a long time. You could bring all these thoughts and blessings to it anew. I came across an interesting poem, apropos, in a way, by Frank Ormsby. It's from his collection, Goat's Milk. Title is Moving In. The first act of love in a new house is not private. Loving each other, we are half aware of door and mirror. Our ecstasy includes the bedside chair, the air from the landing. Street lamp and elm utter leaves on walls, as in no room ever. Theirs is the tongue our tongues join in translating. Their message is clear. Tonight you cannot ignore the world at the window. So we love in the knowledge of a city at a different angle. And sharing our bed with furniture and tree, we claim their perspective, merging our lives here in their established frame. Moving in. Thank you, Frank Ormsby. So what relationships, friendships are you making? Are you cultivating? John Maeda, M-A-E-D-A, on why human relationships are a work of craftsmanship. This is he's a design sage out there in the world, and he spoke these words in an interview in the book Make Your Mark, The Creative's Guide to Building a Business with Impact, edited by Jocelyn Glei, G-L-E-I, or Glei. You make relationships, he said, one at a time, with the same painstaking attention to craft that you knew as a maker. When you make things with your hands, you force something into being. You sand it, you cut it, you fold it. You do everything to build it from end to end. Whereas leading requires a lot of talking, a lot of communicating, not using your hands. And when you're a creative who makes things, you immediately build a distinction between the talkers and the makers. And makers tend to look down on talkers. And leaders are talkers. You don't trust them, but now you're one of them. He laughs. At first you think you can't make anything with your hands anymore, but you can. You make relationships one at a time, with the same painstaking attention to craft that you knew as a maker. So I was thinking of odes to different friends over the years, and the friendships I've made and the friendships we've made out there, you, others, are making or will make. And what about them? What about yours? So here's a couple of mine. This is for my friend of 40-plus years, for Richard Kehl, K-E-H-L. This was on his 85th birthday, 2 years back. Making you. 1 part flesh, 1 part blood, 1 part beauty, 1 part heart and soul, 1 part stardust, 1 part dreams, more parts wonder, many parts imagination. Making you. For my wonderful friend up in Maine, Deborah Lauren Lang. This was on her 75th birthday. They don't make them like this anymore. Women like you. Real ladies like you. Old world, rare world lovers, appreciators, full-on livers of life. The strong-framed woman, heart-shaped lady, wide-minded person of effervescence, conscience, deep presence. I see, feel, and know you as. Admire and brava you as. No, they don't make them like you anymore, which makes you, for me, so greatly embraceable, so greatly irreplaceable. Love out to her, Deborah Lauren Lang, who may be listening right now as we speak. Hope so, or soon. Well, this was into Leap Day, February 2020, a poem for a couple that I met along the way through very dear friend. And they were on the cusp of making a new life together, marrying and starting a new life in a new setting, new place. Their names were Jared and Sarah. And I wrote this for them for the occasion. Making a leap. Not like frogs, or horses, or wild salmon, ovationers to their feet, or some lovers from a fateful height into the earth, but hearts and hands in hand, leaping with deep breath and pure faith and strong oath, together in a grand jeté for two, to a desired vividness, fullerness, to a greater than solo aliveness. And I hope since then, since February 2020, they've been beautifully continuing to leap in heart-shaped ways. I do, wherever this finds them. And making a marriage, so before it even begins, and then into one, and making a partnership, a life together with another. How are you growing and tending the one you're in, if you are in one, and making it ever more special and satisfying? This was for Rachel and Douglas Phillips out in San Francisco on their 20th anniversary in 2022 last year. Decades in the making. Your two-ness, your faithful, fruitful, beautiful side-by-sideness, shaped, infused, inspired by all these seasons of your beings being together, by your intrepid explorings, willing evolving, welcome maturing, to create a rare work of love, to make a body harmony of heart and soul that's ever unfolding, ever enfolding. Good energies out to them. Well, I was musing on the promises we make to ourselves, not just to others. The vows, the sometimes fierce vows, essential commitments to self that we need to make. And David White's good poem came to mind, All the True Vows. I've shared this on one or two other programs, and it fit right in here as far as I'm concerned, and maybe you will be too. All the true vows. All the true vows are secret vows. The ones we speak out loud are the ones we break. There is only one life you can call your own, and 1,000 others you can call by any name you want. Hold to the truth you make every day with your own body. Don't turn your face away. Hold to your own truth at the center of the image you were born with. Those who do not understand their destiny will never understand the friends they have made, nor the work they have chosen, nor the one life that waits beyond all the others. By the lake, in the wood, in the shadows, you can whisper that truth to the quiet reflection you see in the water. Whatever you hear from the water, remember, it wants you to carry the sound of its truth on your lips. Remember, in this place no one can hear you, and out of the silence you can make a promise it will kill you to break. That way you'll find what is real and what is not. I know what I am saying. Time almost forsook me, and I looked again. Seeing my reflection, I broke a promise and spoke for the first time after all these years in my own voice, before it was too late to turn my face again. Thank you, David White. Are you remaking your life in any way? Recreating or rebuilding it? Or have you done so somewhere along the way? I have. And if so, what was it like? How did it go? Or how is it going? This is a poem of mine called Gut Renovation. Stripping your life down to your bare walls, your innards. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by force, by seismic events like great loss or divorce. Then starting over, starting fresh, this time with clear intention, wise design, deliberation, to build on the strengths and virtues of your sure inner structure, to create an inviting new living place for yourself, that years and incarnations later you feel grand about inhabiting, daily thankful for renovating deep down in your gut. And pairing that with this piece, and this question, are you having or have you had any dark nights, as we call them? Have you had your dark nights of the soul? Cave dark, bat dark nights. Times and places of raw and nameless, sometimes name-plated fear. Sheer, cliff-faced anxiety. Fear of falling into an abyss, into a maw, swallowed whole into the belly of a fierce, unknown beast. And, despite each starless passage, each imagined stroke of fate, miscarriage of your fortunes, somehow, however barely, unforeseeably, making it through, to the light and the heart of day, limbs intact, onto solid ground, to the forgotten safety of faith in self, and the never-vanished bounty shining away inside and all around you. Yes, indeed. Well, as you may well know or can imagine, for me, poetry has the power to make us think and feel in myriad ways, myriad wonderful ways, and sometimes life-changing ways. And the writer Ursula Le Guin also wrote some poetry, but more as a prose writer, wrote this once: "A poem of the right shape will hold 1,000 truths, but it doesn't say any of them." Like that, I hadn't seen that before until I was doing research for us on material for our show. Franz Kafka, on the power of making art. Art, like prayer, is a hand outstretched in the darkness, seeking for some touch of grace which will transform it into a hand that bestows gifts. That was beautiful. I want to tell you that. Well, what beautiful makers of any kind do you know? In terms of art in particular, I've got a couple here. This is for a soul brother out in California, many, many decades, who knows these tools that my visual poem for the show, for this show that you see or saw when you began listening. He spent years back in time in doing blacksmithing in the Ozarks. This is for Dennis Farrier, our Farrier, which, by the way, is also a blacksmith. Interesting that it's his name as well. Man of iron, of great fire, man of worshipful company, shaper, swager, welder of many things, complex to simple, essential, useful. A Vulcan with his volcano of flowing heart, fierce thought. A Vishvakarma, Gofanan, Tubal-Cain, Ogun, who has sculpted 7 remarkable decades and been sculpted remarkably by them and beyond. Today you smith on, strike on, ecstatically, in forging heat, in a bright shower of living sparks. Love out to him, love out to Dennis Farrier. And I'm sure those sparks are still flying about him. This is from my still very strong spirit brother up in Maine, wood sculptor, Richard Allen. Among all his many other arts and talents, he's quite a Renaissance man. The forest is his living room. The Maine woods, the coastal woods, where coming into spring he resides, is at home, where he keeps a fire burning by his old canned ham camper, where daily and stewardly he removes the snaking vines strangling the trees, to reuse them, rework them by sculpting them into life-size horses, stallions and mares, maybe the odd moose, that'll gather and pasture together in the nearby field. Here in his arboreal living room, a living space Thoreau and Muir would enjoy, would smile upon across their own well-timbered time. Well, speaking of art more expansively, I would say, what art are you making? What art is being made, or artfulness you're bringing to your life, or letting it bring to your life? Where does your art begin? The art you make with your mind. The art you make with your heart. The art you make with your hands. The art you make of your life. The masterwork life has made of you. Yes. Where does your art begin, my friends? Ryler Dustin. To make color. Every morning my grandmother cleaned the Fisher stove in the back of the trailer, lifted ash in a shovel, careful not to spill the white-gray dust. Precious, she said, her breath smoking in the cold. Precious in winter's first lavender, not quite light. And you could smell it, the faintest acrid hint of ash, a crispness calling you from bed. You could watch her cap it in a chicory coffee can to stack among others, back bent from a long-gone fever. For the garden in spring, she said. Thank you, Ryler Dustin. To make color. And here's Stephen Dobbins, Dobyns. His poem is Song for Making the Birds Come. All winter you felt nothing. As your body continued its necessary tasks, your brother, the snow, remained keeper of your heart. Now it's the first warm day of spring. You walk out to the pasture. There's much mud and still snow on the north side by the pines. You take this poem from your pocket. Raising your voice, you read it aloud to the sky. Soon birds begin to come. First the dark ones, birds of anger, birds of despair. Then you see the wren of friendship and the gray dove of hope. Then others of patience, joy, and love's own red bird. As you read, they begin to fill the air above you, twisting and diving in great circles around you, covering the poem with the sound of their cries until poem and song become the same sound, blending together under the warm March sun. At last you emerge from the apathy of winter. Your heart is a great tree beginning to bud. In narrowing spirals, careful descent, the birds you have summoned arrive to make their nests. Wonderful. Thank you. Stephen Dobbins. A song for making the birds come. New to me. New to us, maybe. The making of food, of course, came to mind, as it may have already come to your mind. No surprise. We would want to touch on that a little bit. Anthony Bourdain, who was quite a maker, certainly of food and stories, he said, the way you make an omelet reveals your character. What do you think about that? Maybe it does. Richard Levine's poem, Bread. Each night, in a space he'd made between waking and purpose, my grandfather donned his one suit in our still dark house and drove through Brooklyn's deserted streets, following trolley tracks to the bakery. There he'd change into white linen work clothes and cap, and in the absence of women, his hands were both loving, well into dawn and throughout the day, kneading, rolling out, shaping each astonishing moment of yeasty predictability in that windowless world lit by slightly swaying naked bulbs, where the shadows staggered, woozy with the aromatic warmth of the work. Then the suit and drive again. At our table, graced by a loaf that steamed when we sliced it, softened the butter, and leavened the very air we'd breathe, he'd count us blessed. Thank you, Richard Levine. Love that. I wanted to share, I think I have time to share it, Always keeping an eye on good time. A menu that I created, one of many, many menus, especially for various poetry on the plate, immersive dining experiences that I've created, curated, cooked, served over different times, different seasons, years, different commissions people have commissioned me to do. And it involves literal poetry, music curation, food curation, other visual elements, anecdotes, and that I present and lead and guide and engage people in, get them participating in, as well as all the delicious food. And this was just one of them. This was in Brooklyn, October 2019. The title was Making Our, in parens, Hemingway, Making Our Hemingway in the wilds of Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And the menu was Camping Out in Earnest, as in Ernest Hemingway, because it was all revolved around riffing on menus on the outdoors that he had made. He was quite a cook himself. I don't know, he wasn't a cordon bleu chef, but he loved cooking. So I took some inspiration from things and made them my own. But his essence was in there. So here's the menu. Just sort of roll it by you. Camping Out in Earnest, starting with a cocktail, a whiskey Hemi and walnuts, warm and spiced. Savory pancakes with feta, figs, and fresh rosemary. Then roasted cornmeal and herb-crusted butterflied somewhere over the rainbow trout with sautéed spinach and fingerling potatoes. Aged manchego and crisp young Hudson Valley apples. An apple, pear, and ginger bramble with sour cream for dessert, too, and Ubuntu coffee, and a little bit more whiskey. All served with wine, poems, and stories across the evening. Yes, that was a wonderful night. There were many Hemingway enthusiasts there, actually. It was interesting. They knew a lot, too. So toast out to Ernest Hemingway tonight. I thought we should talk a little bit as we talk about making a life and making our way on risk and failure. And in this case, on what children can teach us about risk, failure, and personal growth. John W. Gardner has a very good book you might enjoy. He's the author of another book called Excellence. This is Self-Renewal, the Individual and the Innovative Society. Our fear of failure assures the progressive narrowing of the personality. One of the reasons why mature people are apt to learn less than young people is that they are willing to risk less. Learning's a risky business, and they do not like failure. In infancy, when the child is learning at a truly phenomenal rate, a rate he will never again achieve, he's also experiencing a shattering number of failures. Watch him. See the innumerable things he tries and fails, and see how little the failures discourage him or her. With each year that passes, they will be less blithe about failure. By adolescence, the willingness of young people to risk failure has diminished greatly, and all too often parents push them further along that road by instilling fear, by punishing failure, or by making success seem too precious. By middle age, most of us carry in our heads a tremendous catalog of things we have no intention of trying again because we tried them once and failed, or tried them once and did less well than our self-esteem demanded. We pay a heavy price for our fear of failure. It's a powerful obstacle to growth. It assures the progressive narrowing of the personality and prevents exploration and experimentation. There's no learning without some difficulty and fumbling. If you want to keep on learning, you must keep on risking failure all your life. It's as simple as that. Thank you, John Gardner, for the wise words and advice. Vincent van Gogh talked about fear and taking risks and making inspired mistakes, he called them, that could move us forward. There's a collection of his letters called Ever Yours, the Essential Letters, and in there he said, many painters are afraid of the blank canvas, but the blank canvas is afraid of the truly passionate painter who dares and who has once broken the spell of, quote, you can't. Life itself likewise always turns towards one an infinitely meaningless, discouraging, dispiriting blank side on which there is nothing any more than on a blank canvas. But however meaningless and vain, Van Gogh said, however dead life appears, the man of faith, of energy, of warmth, and who knows something, doesn't let himself be fobbed off like that. He steps in and does something and hangs on to that. Well, thank you, Vincent van Gogh. I was happy to find that. Are you giving yourself enough credit for making your way in the world, mistakes or otherwise, whatever way that is that you've been making it, through all that has been said and done before? This is Memorial Day. I wrote this back in 2020 on Memorial Day. Memorial Day. Mine and yours. When we might also honor the times we fell by some wayside in our life, heroically or simply humanly. Or might commemorate the loss of some cherished part of ourself, maybe a sense of youth, innocence, once deep wonderments. Might raise a flag or pin a flower to our heart to remind ourselves we're still alive, still making our way, still making our own worthy history. Yes, friends. Are you making yourselves fully present each moment? We touched on that at the beginning, but touching on it a bit more here. Make sure you're fully present. Everything amazing happens and important happens when we are. This is Wendell Berry, The Vacation. Once there was a man who filmed his vacation. He went flying down the river in his boat with his video camera to his eye, making a moving picture of the moving river upon which his sleek boat moved swiftly toward the end of his vacation. He showed his vacation to his camera, which pictured it, preserving it forever. The river, the trees, the sky, the light, the bow of his rushing boat behind which he stood with his camera, preserving his vacation even as he was having it, so that after he had had it, he would still have it. It would be there. With a flick of a switch, there it would be. But he would not be in it. He would never be in it. Vacation. Thank you, Wendell Berry. Are you making merry, dear listeners? This is a character in their story poem from my experiential exhibition that first launched in 2018, debuted rather, Behind the Curtain, a show of theater on paper. This was The Partygoer. There's a wonderful image that I created, a visual poem of the partygoer. You can always send me an email, and I'm happy to share that with you for fun. The partygoer, all wrapped and ribboned up, and everywhere to go. Ready to be a gift to any party, soirée, festivity. Ready at the drop of a chapeau or bon mot to make merry. Make friends, make whoopee. Yes, the partygoer. You probably met some such partygoers in your life, or you might meet that one along the way. Well, Joy Harjo. As I was thinking about sort of making our way, I was thinking of maps and charting our way, and I came across Joy Harjo's poem, A Map to the Next World. In the last days of the fourth world, I wished to make a map for those who would climb through the hole in the sky. My only tools were the desires of humans as they emerged from the killing fields, from the bedrooms and the kitchens. For the soul is a wanderer with many hands and feet. The map must be of sand and can't be read by ordinary light. It must carry fire to the next tribal town for renewal of spirit. In the legend are instructions on the language of the land, how it was we forgot to acknowledge the gift, as if we were not in it or of it. Take note of the proliferation of supermarkets and malls, the altars of money. They best describe the detour from grace. Keep track of the errors of our forgetfulness. The fog steals our children while we sleep. Flowers of rage spring up in the depression. Monsters are born, there of nuclear anger. Trees of ashes wave goodbye to goodbye, and the map appears to disappear. We no longer know the names of the birds here, how to speak to them by their personal names. Once we knew everything in this lush promise. What I am telling you is real, and is printed in a warning on the map. Our forgetfulness stalks us, walks the earth behind us, leaving a trail of paper diapers, needles, and wasted blood. An imperfect map will have to do, little one. The place of entry is the sea of your mother's blood, your father's small death as he longs to know himself in another. There is no exit. The map can be interpreted through the wall of the intestine, a spiral on the road of knowledge. You will travel through the membrane of death, smell cooking from the encampment where our relatives make a feast of fresh deer meat and corn soup in the Milky Way. They have never left us. We abandoned them for science. And when you take your next breath as we enter the fifth world, there will be no X, no guidebook with words you can carry. You will have to navigate by your mother's voice, renew the song she is singing. Fresh courage glimmers from planets and lights the map printed with the blood of history, a map you will have to know by your intention, by the language of suns. When you emerge, note the tracks of the monster slayers where they entered the cities of artificial light and killed what was killing us. You will see red cliffs. They are the heart, contain the ladder. A white deer will greet you when the last human climbs from the destruction. Remember the hole of shame marking the act of abandoning our tribal grounds. We were never perfect. Yet, the journey we make together is perfect on this earth who was once a star and made the same mistakes as humans. We might make them again, she said. Crucial to finding the way is this: there is no beginning or end. You must make your own map. Thank you, Joy Harjo. A map to the next world from her collection, How We Became Human. Pointing you to that. Beautiful collection of poetry. Well, what peace are you making with others in your lives, your communities, your towns and cities, your world, close or farther away? The Times of Truth. I decided to include this, and I'd like to play it. This was actually dedicated to the 2018 Winter Olympic Games. It's going to be part, or is part of the museum there now. Among the larger body of work, I contributed as a Poet Laureate for the Truce Foundation to that event. So let me play it for you. It was beautifully musically scored. I have it here. If I can cue it up for you. The times of truce, when the blowing winds cease, when the swelling seas settle down, when the earth enters a still point near dawn, near dusk, where the night skies grow silent with stars, whenever the world of nature makes peace with itself, and man mirrors that peace in himself, gives free leave to his fellow man. These are the times when rare and graceful plumes of truce, deep spirits of unity, community, can be found and greatly felt by everything living. Be remembered and honored by everyone, young to old, hearkening. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was good to listen to it again. As we come now to our last small handful of sharings left and musings, are you making the most of it? Memento mori. Remember that one day you too will die. You will cease being here in body and breath. Will join all those across time, across the earth, through times of war and ones of peace, who have left the world, have gone on, crossed over to another world, maybe to a place of endless wonder. Let the precious fleetingness of their lives remind you of your beautiful mortality, of your own and everyone else's beautiful impermanency. Inspire you to appreciate and make the most of the gift of your life, your days, your hourglass moments while you're here. Your sun also rises. It rises each day you open your eyes, each day you open your heart. Every time you enter the great and small moments of your world with a sense of wonder, a taste for adventure. The way Hemingway made his way, boldly, earnestly, one-of-a-kindly, through the wilds of his. Its peaks and valleys, streams and plains, well-weathered woods. Its sometimes dark and starless, sometimes star and moon-bright nights. Every place around a table, a crackling or embering fire, a circle of friends, or simply alone with your thoughts, your own words, silent and still anywhere, and you feel the bounty of the earth, breathe in its beauty, and feast on your life, it rises. The great mystic Meister Eckhart said, "The outer work can never be small if the inner work is great, and the outer work can never be great if the inner work is small." And last for now, till we're together again over the airwaves, through the ether, let's make hay. While the sun shines, make song while our voices shine. Make love while our bodies shine. Make feasts while our appetites shine. Make each day bright with heart, come rain or shine. Thank you again, friends, for leaning in, thinking, and feeling in, for making a point of being here with me and today's fellow listeners. Thanks, too, for sharing the shows with others. Freely post a program link or the whole playlist out to friends or social media. I'm always keen to bring more enthusiasts into our expanding circle. As always, I invite you to send me any comments, questions, or reflections, and any gifts, any donations you might like to make to support these free weekly broadcasts that are my gift of inspiration and uplift for you and others. If there's some theme you'd like me to do a future show around, do send along an email to me, Colin at thepoetorialist.com. And what about your experience of this show on what are you making? And if you are making a contribution, thank you so much. You can send it easily by Venmo to fivefold, FIVEFOLD at pipeline.com, or by PayPal to the same email. You can also just mail a check to me at P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island 02891, or donate through my site, thepoetorialist.com, at the Donate tab. If you're new to the broadcast, know that I can be sponsored or privately hosted as a working poet in residence in the U.S. or elsewhere to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to a patron or sponsor. And if that's you, email me to explore. Meanwhile, you can hear all the broadcasts online on YouTube on the Floating Poetry playlist. And if you're interested, you can follow the Poetosphere, one-of-a-kind source of inspiration that I'm guiding that's coming later this summer. Just go to thepoetosphere.com for a sense of what's ahead and sign up if you like for updates there. Meanwhile, I hope you'll lean in soon again. Until then, dear listeners, make your way wisely and well in your days, in your lives, in the lives of others, in our world. Shape a life that truly matters, that's healthy in body, in heart, mind, and spirit, that's meaningful and fulfilling, soulful and vibrant. Let serendipity play a part in shaping you. Co-create wonder of all kinds with this remarkable universe of ours. It's ever at the ready to join hands with you, join its energies. And make friends with nature, the plant and animal kingdoms, the land and the waters. Make peace with your kindred fellow humans, all men and women of decent heart. And make sure you appreciate and enjoy who you are, the gifts you have inside and around you, and that you get to be here at all. Goodbye for now, and good spirits.